2,
3,
4, 5,
6, 7.
Vietnam is a country heavily influenced by communism introduced by China immediately prior to the Vietnam War. The nationalization of assets and liberty through this regime hindered Vietnam's growth and resulted in ubiquitous civil unrest. In order to alleviate tensions and help rebuild their economy, several recent solutions have been presented.
The origin of Vietnam communism. The Vietnam War has roots in Vietnam's centuries of domination by imperialism and colonial powers. First China, which ruled ancient Vietnam, and then France, which took control of Vietnam in the 1800s and established French Indochina. In the early 1900s, nationalist movement emerged, demanding more self-government and less French influence. The most prominent of these groups was led by Ho Chi Minh, the leader of the militant nationalist organization called the Viet Minh. During World War II, the French was occupied by Nazi Germany, completely losing foothold in Vietnam and Japan. And Japan took control of the country. The Viet Minh resisted the Japanese oppressors and extended its power base throughout Vietnam. Eventually, the Japanese surrendered. Minh's force took the capital of Hanoi and declared Vietnam to be an independent country. The Republic of Vietnam. The French refused to accept and recognize Ho's declaration. Ho appealed for aid from the United States, and the United States, which was against communism, distrusted Ho's letter. The fight of recognition continued between Ho and the French, leading to the First Indonesian War, until 1954, when a humiliating defeat against French to seek a peace settlement. The Geneva Accords of 1954 divided Vietnam officially into Northern Vietnam and Southern Vietnam. Northern Vietnam was communist and was under Ho's communist forces, and Southern Vietnam was under French Empire. At this point, the U.S. Cold War foreign policy began to play a major part in Vietnam. The U.S. policy at the time was dominated by the domino theory, which believed that the fall of the Northern Vietnam would cause the fall of all Southeast Asia. Eventually, the U.S. was caught involved in corrupt actions, causing the support they were providing to dwindle. Then, when the President Nixon resignated, Northern Vietnam stepped up to Southern Vietnam and finally launched on an all-out offensive. South Vietnam and North Vietnam reunited as one country under the communist rule. Communism created bad economy.
The impact that communism had on Vietnam was first nationalizing assets and resources, which is very disastrous to the economy. Most former owners are not compensated for the loss in net loss and potential income. People become enslaved to things due to shortage, also known as materialistic. Second, placing their management into hands of officials that do not deserve the position has a great effect on the economy. People in the government possess neither the competence nor the motivation to oversee everything is running efficiently, which shows right here where the government spending is. People look at themselves as dependents on the government to make decisions, which is not necessarily the best choice for them. The third is people's liberty is at stake in a communistic economy. Controlling the people's assets, such as their land, ultimately lead to the level of destruction. Historical evidence, writes Richard Pipes in his book, Communism, A History, written in 2001, indicates that the liberties of individuals can only be protected when property rights are firmly guaranteed, because these rights constitute the most effective barrier to states' encroachments. People are no longer in control of their lives and torn down to no thoughts of their own but the government, primarily due to the government that Vietnam has today.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because of Ho Chi Minh's fight for Vietnam independence, it invited communism into Vietnam, and that made people's lives even worse. The U.S. government predicted that communism would have a domino effect into other countries, so they sent their troops into Vietnam to help. The U.S. troops did fight against the communism, but they also killed many lives of innocent people by attacking the family and the villages that were controlled by the communists. According to my parents, Annie and Joseph Nguyen, communists would take properties and valuables from people to keep for themselves. The wealthiest of Vietnam became poor overnight and was stripped of all of their belongings. The government official became richer and more powerful, recruiting more men to overpower their citizens. The communists were able to get whatever they wanted, and a slight refusal would lead to punishments of beating and even death. Pa Tran, a son of a wealthy businessman, hold on real quick here. Of a wealthy businessman relives the horrific experience with CNN.com. At the age of 14, communist barges into his home and handcuffs his father with accusations of him being a CIA agent. Not only Pa's father lost 3 years of his life in an education camp, he also lost all 10 of his properties. The communists created education camps which were told to teach people how to act like members of the communist society, but in reality it was created to control and punish those who were disobedient. Among these captives were my mother, father, 2 uncles, and their wives. They witnessed many beatings, killings, starvations, rapings, without any hesitation from the communists. They saw that their only way of survival was to escape the camps. They hatched a successful plan that resulted in freedoms and the death of 3 guards. The poor and harsh conditions that the people of Vietnam has to endure is the reason why people escape to America. Okay.
Yeah.
Although it is commonly mistaken for a communist state, Vietnam currently is a socialist state which has adopted a communist way of life. Similar to other socialist states, Vietnam advocates that means or resources used in the production of wealth, as well as the distribution and exchange of wealth, should be regulated by a single centralized body. Since April of 1922, the Communist Party of Vietnam has controlled all aspects of the country's government, politics, and society. Subordinate to the Communist Party of Vietnam, the national governing body is the state government, which, in order to efficiently execute its duties, is composed of several branches. The National Assembly of Vietnam makes up the unicameral or single-chambered legislative body. Unlike the legislative branch, several groups make up the executive branch. The first position in the executive branch is the chief of state, the president position. The second position in the executive branch is the head of government, which is composed of a prime minister and several deputy ministers. The cabinet, which is formed of individuals appointed by the president based on a proposal by the prime minister and then confirmed by the National Assembly, is the remaining class of the executive branch. The judicial branch, the third and final sector of Vietnam's state government, is also formed by multiple subgroups. The Chief Justice, who is elected by the National Assembly on the President's recommendation, along with 13 judges appointed by the President, comprise the Supreme People's Court, which is the highest court according to the United States Central Intelligence Agency, also known as the CIA. Other subordinate groups, such as the Court of Appeals, the People's Special Court, and the Central Military Court, constitute the remaining judicial authorities in Vietnam. The chain of power in Vietnam's government runs from the Communist Party of Vietnam's National Congress, and then it goes to the state government. The National Assembly, the legislative branch, has the highest level of state power, and then it goes to the executive branch, which is President and Prime Minister, along with the judicial branch, the Supreme People's Court, and they have the same amount of power.
On July 25th of 2013, the New York Times reported on President Tuolong Tan Song, Vietnam's current head of state, who brought a copy of Ho Chi Minh's letter to Truman to meet with Barack Obama in order to deepen international ties, negotiate an increase on trade, and to discuss concerns regarding human rights in Vietnam. The presence of the letter that Truman ignored, which led to the country's plunge into communism, was displayed by President Song that the Vietnamese government harbored no ill will to America and her people. The administration hoped that opening trade negotiations and a military dialogue would be an incentive for Vietnam to change to soften its authoritarian edge, leading to an improvement of treatment toward Vietnam's workers. In September of 2013, 2 months after President Song met with Obama, there have been widespread crackdowns and a drastic degradation in the treatment of workers, leading to a rearming of tensions between the U.S. and Vietnam. According to Tran Le Thuy and John Ruich of the Reuters, the only way to achieve reform and prosperity would be to restore the people's faith in their government. In order to do this, Vietnam should assess 3 major points before any major change can occur. The public investment needs to be made to increase the quality of life for all Vietnam citizens, not just the elite. Such actions would alleviate tensions with other countries, including the U.S. and Denmark, Vietnam's largest donor of foreign aid. This would in turn increase their trade, thereby stimulating its economy. That, coupled with a decrease in government spending, a figure that has been on a steady decline since 2002, will increase Vietnam's finances. To conclude, Vietnam's economy and governmental model has fluctuated drastically over the years. Although it has been subjected to Chinese takeover and economic turmoil, steps have been taken by the Vietnamese government to reform the country to its former glory.
Countdown.
Hello. 1, 2,
3,
4, 5,
6, 7.
I'm Unique Spade.
Chad Pierce.
Marina Hall.
Emma Dosan.